I'm going to put you off as long as we can.
Thank you. If I could, Vice Mayor and Council, I represent a group, so I was going to ask if I could have the full 10 minutes, and I can have a show.
Can we see a show of hands? What group do you represent, sir?
It's Maxwell Street. The issue is Green Life.
And what's the name of the group?
It's Maxwell Street neighborhood. It really doesn't have a neighborhood association. It's just residents of Maxwell Street.
Okay, so
I wish I could bring something a little controversial here tonight, but
10 minutes.
10 minutes. I don't know how I get this to work here. The basics behind this, the reason why we're here tonight is to clear up some of the
Keep
issues.
going
that-
one more turn,
Oh, sorry.
perhaps. Or, no, that's too far.
Too.
Come back. There we
Is
go.
that good? Kind of weird. There's been some things going around. My name is Joe Minicozzi. I'm a registered planner, and I've been working on behalf of some of the residents on this, particularly Mr. Thompson, on this issue that's happening in the neighborhood. And I'm well aware of the emails that you all get. I'm well aware of what's going on in the community banter and what's going on in the public process. And what we're here to do tonight is try to clear up this as much as possible and state what's on the record. First of all, Mr. Thompson is not suing the city of Asheville. That has come out in a couple of emails that we saw, and that's not the case. So I wanted to clear that up. What has happened is we're following our public process, our due process as required by law. We have an issue, is what was approved. We file the channels administratively to appeal those things, first to staff and then to the Board of Adjustments. Currently, our case went to the Board of Adjustments and was dismissed by the city's attorney's office, to which we are now appealing again. We have not had a hearing publicly on any of this. We have gone before the noise board, for the trucks, for the air conditioners, 3 different times. The first time it was moved in an order of compromise. The second 2 times it was dismissed by the city's attorney's office. So here we are coming to you with yet another request, and it's a request for the process. We ask that you all become involved in this, and here's the basics behind it. Again, this is Green Life here. Here's Maxwell Street. Mr. Thompson lives right there. Mr. Miller, who's in the back of the room, lives here. And these are the red properties here are a couple other properties that are owned by Mr. Thompson. The basics, again, we have many issues with this project, but there are some basics to it. First of which is what's allowed to be administratively approved by staff. This is the driveway on Maxwell Street. What's allowed by code is a 36-foot wide driveway. The red on here, this is where 36 feet would be. The driveway is about 78 feet from edge to edge. Again, here's a measurement. This is my tape measure, Sunday afternoon, which there was a truck parked on the sidewalk, and again, you see my tape off in the distance. Now, we bring these issues up to staff, and we say to them, we ask Mr. Shuford, is this allowed, are you allowed to approve this? He states yes. I have a question, I guess, for Mr. Ost. Is it allowable for Mr. Shuford to administratively approve a numeric adjustment to the code?
As the Vice Mayor advised the previous speaker, this is an opportunity for you to share information. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. It's a question when we look at this. Again, we appeal it. We can appeal a decision. There are things that became well aware to us in this, that Scott basically makes a decision. We have, at that point, 30 days to appeal it. If it's an administrative decision, how does the neighborhood know about it? You know, the staff's comments are that there's construction that happens. At that point, you should be aware. You should go look at the construction. When we look at this, there is no way legally, in my experience as a former zoning administrator, that a zoning individual can give an approval for variance without the proper procedure to go before a board of adjustment. That's what they're there for. If one were to measure the Merriman entrance, it's around 69 feet. Again, the allowable dimension is 36 feet. This is a numeric improvement of 200% of what the code allows, actually greater than 200%. Mr. Thompson complained about the trucks coming in on Maxwell as well as several residents. He received a letter from the police department and the police chief basically citing that there are large trucks that appear in the driveway. He's well aware of it. There's sometimes 16 trucks a day on this residential street. The city police department, in an effort to curb their amount of manpower that they put on that street, issued a letter to Mr. Thompson basically saying, if the trucks are too big and they don't fit, so be it. We're not going to cite. We appealed that decision and made the presentation to Mr. Jackson. We're well aware of all the staff time that's gone into this and how complex this issue is, and we feel for staff in this. We're not trying to be rabble-rousers. We're just trying to cut to what our process allows, which brings us here tonight. The equivalent of basically saying that trucks could appear there and park on sidewalks, block sidewalks, all when the code states that you're not allowed to block a sidewalk. The police chief's letter basically says if they're too big, they're too big. This would be tantamount to you all buying a limousine and having a 10-foot wide driveway. Would you be allowed to park that limousine in your 10-foot long driveway and have it extend off into the street? Basically, it don't fit, and that's the essence to it. In addition, the nature of that residential street has been compromised. This is a view from one of Mr. Thompson's units. And we ask, how is this allowed? The law states that you can't have anything greater than a 22-foot long truck on a city street. In addition to that, anything greater than 10,000 pounds. That truck that's in the foreground is 14,000 pounds. You all have approved Maxwell Street here as a residential street that shall have no through truck traffic. The intent behind your policies are to reduce the amount of damage that's done on the street. I say let's all look back at this, let's look at the facts, and say, are trucks really allowed on this street? I think there needs to be some due diligence done in a very objective, independent way. We'll be more than happy to present our side of this to y'all and talk about it. Finally, the original loading area that was approved by the city, the only working drawing that I could find inside the city's building department, has a roof on a pole mount loading bay that they constructed. From one of the shots back in 2004, you can see that structure in the distance here with the pole. If one were to go out there today, you would see that they have enclosed it. There's no permit for that. Again, we brought that to the attention of city staff, and nothing has happened of it. Basically, what we're here tonight is to ask you all is if we can have a sit-down workshop on this. Councilman Davis had recommended that early on in the process, and we're back here to basically ask for this. Is this possible to ask you all, could we just get together on this and take a look at this and try to just untangle this mess rather than having all these emails going around, all this he said, she said, let's roll up our sleeves and get it done. And that's what we're appealing to you all tonight for that consideration.
Okay, sir, if you'll complete your presentation, we'll see if council members would like to respond and react in any fashion. Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask for one point of clarification? You said a workshop? I'm not entirely clear on what you're envisioning.
I guess the process that I'm envisioning is if there was some way to I'm trying to think in my mind what's the most positive way that this can happen. There's a lot of bad emotion in this. There's a lot of situations that seem to have been gotten entrenched. Rather than having a citizen go through a process of actually having to hire attorneys, file lawsuits, and just drag this thing out, is there a way that we can untangle this mess and find out where things, I'm sure there was an error someplace, but just to cover up this bad decision on top of bad decision isn't making it easier. Could we have a session where we present to you all in a workshop or a work session, whichever form you all recommend, closed or open, we'll take whatever. We just want to state our case to an objective body. We try that through our appeals processes. They keep on getting dismissed. We just want to talk about it. It's
Okay.
not working.
All right, thank you.
Gary, I got a quick question. What's the status of the code?
Go ahead, sir. We're pursuing another process now.
What's the status of the code violations? Could you put that last picture back up, please? Where we saw that it wasn't enclosed and it's not now enclosed, or do they actually have a permit for that that's on record?
I would have to get some staff response to that question.
Could we have a response to the trucks, the street issue with Anthony Busak's memo stating that no through trucks can go on the thoroughfares? Just an update
I think
on,
that's a great idea. Why don't you allow us to respond to the points that have been made here today by memo, and then you all can decide how you want to proceed.
Really quickly, in addition to that, could we get how a truck was allowed to be approved in a visibility triangle in addition to the widths of the driveways, both exceeding the legal requirement of 36 feet?
Sir, with your,
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind, if you could summarize in bullet point form the points you've raised tonight, submit those to our, Mr. Jackson, to you. Mr. Jackson, to you. Then Mr. Jackson and staff will process them, get that information to us, and then we'll respond in some fashion. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Council, is that, we're comfortable with that as a process? Okay. Other public comments?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.